Well, hello there. It's Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. It's 6M4 Jungle Encounter, and it's music by John Williams, and it's orchestrated by Herb Spencer. And we're just going to jump in. Why not? Might as well. So let me get the screen cap organised, and then, like I usually do, there's immediate things which I just want to solve. Yeah, this is quite a difficult one to analyse, actually, because it's neither sort of, as with a lot of Williams, wholly octatonic or Hungarian minor or jazz, for that matter, at all. It's a sort of hybrid of everything, and in a sense, it actually encapsulates his style very nicely, because it's neither one thing nor the other. It's an amalgam of both different things, sort of, classical modernism and jazz, all combined. So into a sort of sci-fi soup, as it were. So first of all, the orchestration, usual 3-3-3-3, 6 horns, 3 trumpets, this time 4 trombones, 1 tuba, and this one piano, celeste and harp, timp and percussion and strings as well. So he started off with a sort of octatonic F minor-y type thing. That sort of thing. So F octatonic with tone, semitone, tone, semitone. That sort of idea. We've got that sort of here with a C flat. But of course, there's also C naturals as well. And this is the case here where he often just misses out one of the octatonic modes, or at least sort of perhaps makes it a little bit more ambiguous. And of course, we've got, dyadic work here. Where we got a sort of 3-3 type situation. And then it goes into a sort of D flat minor, F flat in the bass type, sort of first inversion type thing. Then into more dyadic work. Here we've got a high A flat pedal as well. And there's a lot of this sort of, incomplete. It's not that. We've got that at the top as well. So it's a little bit ambiguous at that point. And then we've got an extraordinary 8-note chord, which I'm just going to zoom in for you. So we've got a minor chord with a major 7th, then a 9th, then an 11th. Then we've got a flat 13. And also a flat 9 as well, sharp 13, flat 9 as well. So it's an absolutely extraordinary chord. Now that's pure jazz, isn't it? An extraordinary thing. I think it was pitch class set 811 or something like that, which tells us absolutely nothing whatsoever. Better to kind of just highlight what the chord is closest to in terms of all the extensions on it. But you can obviously see that, the piano, the harp plays the same thing. Thank goodness that it does. Otherwise, what on earth would that be? And then it immediately goes into this sort of slightly octatonic-ish segment. Now, the difficulty with this particular bit is that we've got in the bass B flat, G and C. So it's sort of rather ambiguous. It's neither one thing nor the other. So it's this sort of rather neutral idea. And then above that, we've got these dyads, which is sort of redolent of things like Hoth battle. This sort of thing, outward leaning things. As one goes up, one goes down as well. So, yeah, quite complicated here. And we've also got the added complication of an E in there as well. So it sounds almost like a sort of C7 type chord. In fact, it kind of is. But then we've all got the other complications as well. So don't forget that E is also included there. But notice that it's not included in the strings at all. So I'm just going to go C7 and then B flat. It's this sort of third inversion type chord, which is often used by Williams, actually, interestingly. That E then dies out, and we've still got, you know, the stuff over the top, and it just it's just this sort of mush, really. So half expectant sort of music, sort of treading water before the action begins, and this is where where it happens. So we're from ambiguity into suddenly E minor, that sort of idea. Notice the slightly delayed root. It comes after the beat. Boom. So notice the counterpoint here is all in the rests at this point as well, which I find quite interesting. Then the same sort of thing, lots of imitation. This time it's in the wind and the piano, and then the sort of scampering strings. We got this chromatic descent like that as well to a sort of F sharp pedal, which becomes a sort of slash chord like that, which sort of ends, I guess you could say, on an F sharp half dim, but it's not really. It's A minor above that slash bass note. Then we've got a real atonal moment. So we've got this 3/3 chord. It doesn't have that, and it doesn't even have that either. And so it becomes ambiguous because of the fact that there's nothing else present at that point, and especially because that sort of idea. It sort of skirts around those notes rather than saying anything else. So again, it's rather ambiguous. But again, it's one of his sort of jazz figurations. You'll see it all the time. You know, those sort of ones as well, those sort of fourths type things as well. So then we're into this sort of A flat minor or G sharp minor. Let's make it G sharp minor because that's what it's all written as. So all of these sort of chromatic bits of block chordal homophony, all in minor triads. Then we get this sort of lovely action music chord, which is an F minor with a major seventh and a flat six. So if we go, that's our F minor, major seventh, then add a flat six. So that's quite fun as well. And very much a sort of melodic minor mode as well. Here it's quite difficult to tell what it starts off as. And it just sort of goes from an F minor, A minor almost because of the G sharp there. But I suppose you could argue that the G sharp's also the A flat of F minor, and then it really does go into F minor at this point because we've got... So F Hungarian minor, I should say, because of the sharp 4, because of that B natural, like that. Again, a sort of typical action music cue. We don't really see much Hungarian minor in Return of the Jedi. It's much more prevalent in Empire. Then we've got this bit where, the typical sort of orchestrational device. At this point, I quite like the fact that it's double time, digga, 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 and then actual tremolos happening. It's a sort of Benjamin Britten type sort of thing that happens a lot. And with the wind at the same time, it's that sort of, apprehension, I suppose, and tension that's created in there. That's bar 21. So if I go to the bit here, we'll see exactly what it looks like. So here's the strings element, like that. Interestingly, the piano just sort of joins in on that. We've then got sort of percussion cymbals and stuff helping it. We've then got a lot of harp, which actually I think maybe was directed to kind of play almost almost like in dotted crotchets. The wind is quite ingeniously done. If we look down here, so the top note is actually that one, the A flat. So just triads. And then here we've got some doubling up of the oboe and the clarinet, but the oboe 2 and the clarinet 2 are playing different notes. And then we've got that other little bit of rub in there as well. So it's slightly different. There we go. Doesn't sound great on Note Performer, I have to say. Then that sort of unison fanfare, I suppose you could call it, or melodic cell. Then it goes into this sort of really interesting sort of segment, which I haven't really seen very much before in terms of the way it's orchestrated. We've got pizzicato, double bass, but then we've got all of this going on as well. So it actually sounds it's sort of like a B flat minor with a major seventh type thing. It sounds really like that. It sort of chugs along with this sort of almost augmented type of sound. And even with sort of C with a sort of flat 6 or flat 13. We've also got some interesting slash chords here. So that sort of idea. Very, very jazz indeed. Especially at that sort of voicing. Yeah, it's absolutely typical Williams. But again, it sounds less like a sort of pitch class set thing and a bit more jazz really at this point. I'm getting a bit more into that as I delve more into the films. More dyadic work. We've then got dyads going up to the top. That sort of thing, going up that scale or mode, and then into G minor. So we've had sort of from E into G, so it's sort of, well, actually it's sort of B flat area into G. So another sort of tertial shift, if you were. But this time it's interesting where we got a sort of real bitonal element. If I play it for you. Yeah, very, very sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark type sort of territory at that point. So we've got that sort of that major minor feel. I can't even play it. It's really hard to play. An interesting sort of little aside, a little bit of bitonalism, then more dyads, and then it just finishes F sharp minor, F minor, E chromatically. And that's it, basically. I think there are another 2 bars which have been cut from the original. It just sort of drifts off as the speed biker kind of chase goes on. But a nice little cue. I mean, it's not a huge one, is it? It's 37 bars long, so not huge. And there's actually 2 minutes 59 seconds to the next one after this. But it's quite intricate, and it's nice from the point of view of just sort of seeing a few things. You know, these little elements here with that wind and the strings going, which I mentioned previously. We've got our nice string unisons, which happen quite a lot. I suppose the action bit is this stuff. So in terms of what's going on, it's not much really. Quite innocuous. But then with the percussion effects and the timpani, little accents. But really it's all string led, and then we've got this part of the motif that's from previous. So the bitonal element is horns against trumpets and oboes at that point. Yeah. And it's little modules of things, you know, 2 bars of this, suddenly 2 bars of that. Like that. And sort of unusually ends on a sort of major chord, E major chord as well, which is quite interesting. It's sort of usually he ends on something less triumphant, which I find quite intriguing. Anyway, that's kind of it really. There's not much else to say about today, but I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a short and sweet one, a nice little cue. Again, it's quite ambiguous, and he's using, you know, little bits of octatonicism, but not quite. Certainly a lot of jazz in there as well. And I guess that's kind of it. I'm just looking over to my other screen to sort of work out how to stop the recording, but I think it's being done as we speak. So I will see you very soon. Take care, and see you at the next one. Bye for now.